1996. A man is running along the beach when he sees the board game Jumanji in the sand. He brings it home to his son Alex Freak, but he has no interest in it because it's a board game. He plays a video game, and Jumanji later transforms itself into a video game cartridge. Alex finds it and puts it in. As he starts to play, there is a flash of green light in his room. 20 years later, we meet Spencer Gilpin, a nerd who's scared of most of what's in the world outside. He meets his former best friend Anthony Fridge Johnson outside the Freak House, aka Freak House, to hand Fridge an essay that he wrote. Fridge gets picked up by another girl, and Spencer is approached by Mr. Freak, who became a recluse after Alex disappeared all those years ago. He frightens Spencer away from his home. At school, self-absorbed Bethany Walker is having a video chat with her friend during a quiz. Her teacher tells her to put the phone away, but when Bethany refuses, she is given detention. During gym class, Spencer notices as a shy girl, Martha Capley, refusing to join the other students in the sport. The gym teacher tries to get Martha to join, but she claims to not see a point to it and then inadvertently insults the teacher's profession, which lands her in detention. Spencer is then called to the principal's office after it's found out that Fridge was copying his essays. Although Spencer tries to defend Fridge, they both get detention. Principal Bentley makes the 4 students serve detention by removing staples out of magazines. They then find the Jumanji video game and pop it in the cartridge. Spencer and Fridge get ready to play, while Bethany and Martha join reluctantly. After they choose their characters, they suddenly get sucked into the game. Spencer finds himself turned into Dr. Smolder Bravestone, a muscular archaeologist. Fridge arrives into the game as Franklin Moose Finbar, an expert zoologist, but Fridge is upset that his avatar is a foot shorter than he normally is. Martha becomes Ruby Roundhouse, killer of men. Bethany is now Dr. Shelley Oberon, a cartographer that Bethany mistook for a woman because the description read curvy genius, and she becomes horrified upon seeing her reflection. The 4 freak out as they realize they are in the game. Almost immediately, a hippo emerges from the water and devours Bethany. She is brought back to the game, alive. The 4 are met by a non-playable character named Nigel, who knows all about the characters in the game, which leads into a backstory. A former ally turned nemesis of Dr. Bravestone, Russell Van Pelt, went hunting for a jewel called the Jaguar Eye at the top of a statue in the middle of the jungle. Van Pelt stole the jewel and took control over the animals in Jumanji. The objective of the players is to retrieve the jewel and save Jumanji in order to leave the game. After getting dropped off by Nigel, Spencer taps his pec and is shown a list of his, or rather, Dr. Bravestone's, skills, which include climbing, super strength, and speed, while having no weaknesses. Ruby is a skilled fighter, but her weakness is venom. Shelley has smarts in cartography and paleontology, while Moose is virtually useless, being armed with weapons that belong to Bravestone, and one of his weaknesses is cake. They also find a map that's missing a piece that will lead them to the Jaguar statue. Soon, the gang is found by villains on motorcycles. They chase them through the landscape until they reach a waterfall. The 4 jump off and swim to safety, but Martha got hit and she vanishes. She returns to the game, and they all realize that they were given 3 lives, indicated by bar tattoos on their wrists. Martha and Bethany are both down to 2. While traveling to their destination, Spencer and Fridge start to argue, with Fridge stating that he's been trying to distance himself from Spencer since 7th grade. Fridge pushes Spencer off a cliff out of spite, costing him a life. Spencer returns and smacks Fridge against a rock, but the girls get them to stop so they can proceed. The 4 end up in a market where they search for their missing map piece. Fridge unknowingly eats pound cake and explodes. Afterwards, a child comes up to them and guides them to what they need to find. They are taken to a hut with a container that holds a black mamba. Spencer grabs it, and Fridge defangs the snake. Bethany finds a small elephant totem and a note saying, "When you find me, start the climb." When they start to leave, they are found by Van Pelt and his minions. Spencer utilizes his strengths to smack the minions around and punch them sky high. The gang is then found by a 5th playable character, the pilot Jefferson Seaplane McDonough, who says his real name is Alex. He leads the gang away from the villains and takes them to safety after they take the jewel from Van Pelt. Alex takes the four to a treehouse that once belonged to Ellen Parrish, Robin Williams' character from the original movie. He makes margaritas for the gang, and Fridge gets drunk. Alex mentions that he has been stuck in the game for months, and he hasn't been able to get to the transportation shed to get himself out. They realize they need to distract the guards. Bethany teaches Martha how to flirt so that she can go distract the guards while the others get to the shed. Meanwhile, Alex describes her using 90s slang, fly, get jiggy with it, leading the others to realize he's Alex Freak, and that he's been stuck in the game for 2 decades, and that everyone in town knows about his disappearance. This leads Alex to feel despaired. Martha fails to be flirty, but she remembers one of her skills is dance fighting. A song plays on a boom box, and she proceeds to kick the guards' butts. The gang then heads into the shed to get a helicopter, but Alex is hesitant as he is down to his last life and fears he will never get out. The others convince him to spring into action, and they take the helicopter out just as Van Pelt's goons show up. As the gang flies away, they are pursued by albino rhinos. The helicopter starts to lower and can't go higher. Spencer climbs up to fix it, but Fridge drops the jewel in the chaos. The rhinos circle the jewel to protect it. Alex flies back around as Spencer pushes Fridge out to create a distraction for the rhinos as they retrieve the jewel. Fridge gets trampled, but he is brought back to life. The gang lands the helicopter, but Alex gets stung by a mosquito. He starts to die, and Bethany performs CPR to revive him, which means she gives Alex one of her lives. Afterwards, Spencer expresses his feelings to Martha, and she reciprocates. They share an awkward first kiss. The gang makes it to the site of the jaguar statue, which is surrounded by jaguars protecting the place. Spencer gets mauled by one of the jaguars, leaving him with his last life. Spencer tells Fridge how scared he is, but Fridge encourages him to keep playing. Van Pelt and his goons arrive again, and the gang must utilize their combined skills and teamwork to fend off the villains. An elephant arrives, and Fridge climbs it by using the jewel. Martha then takes the jewel as Spencer climbs the statue. She becomes surrounded by snakes as Van Pelt approaches her. Martha deliberately steps on a snake to get bitten so that she may come back with the jewel in her hand. As she falls back into the game, she throws the jewel to Spencer, who places it back into the statue. The 5 players then cry out Jumanji, which lifts the curse on the land and causes Van Pelt to disintegrate.